What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Jurisdiction Podcast. It's your host, Gonzalo, back with the 6th episode of the podcast. Already 6. I hope the podcast is getting better because I certainly feel much more comfortable talking to myself. But to a camera. Hopefully I'm getting better at articulating, at being slightly more entertaining, and being able to flesh out helpful advice to anyone who might be watching. Hopefully that's just not in my mind. Hopefully that's actual reality, that there is progress. Because, however selfish my goals are in doing this podcast, being better articulate, being able to pronounce better, strengthening my muscle as a raconteur, all that kind of selfish hope for improvement also comes along with just a hope that I'm providing the audience with some sort of helpful advice for their law school journey. So 6 episodes in, I hope I've made some headway toward those goals. And if not, we've got at least 90 more episodes to go. Hopefully when I get at the end, there's, I'll be able to look at these episodes and just feel tremendous embarrassment for my early abilities. But anyways, as you guys know, this podcast is split into 3 parts. What's going on, what law school advice do I have for you this week, and then just interesting intellectual or philosophical ideas about the law that I'm thinking about this week. So beginning first with just what's happening this week. Personally, me and my sister this weekend were able to watch a WNBA game. That's why I'm rocking the hoodie. I had this for a while now, but just watched a WNBA game this last weekend. And it was entertaining. It was an interesting experience because it was like camp day, so there was a lot of children there, and there was a DJ there, and the DJ was just playing all what I'm guessing are TikTok hits, and the kids were going absolutely bonkers. So that was always that's a funny thing to see, just like 10,000 children going crazy for some song I don't know, but the game was great. It was my first WNBA game. I have seen a women's collegiate basketball game when I was at undergrad, and that was an interesting experience too. But we got great seats and we had a lot of fun. So that's what I've been doing personally. In relation to law school, the fall semester is quickly approaching. And like I said last week, I'm preparing just for the fall semester. That's in the background, but this week more so, I find myself also preparing for the career side of the fall semester too. So, preparing and updating my resume, preparing and updating cover letters, and getting a sample writing in order, just so they're ready and I could send them out to employers when need be. So that's all very tedious and not very interesting to me, mostly because they have to do with myself, and I really don't enjoy having to think hard about myself professionally in a formal manner, which leads to the second part of the podcast where I talk about um, helpful law school advice. And this is to say, personally, I don't like having to sell myself in any context. Um, uh, at some level, this stems from just like an unhealthy, self-deprecating nature that has always been there. But I think a lot of people, many of my classmates have voiced similar sentiments where they don't love this game of having to talk about yourself, because you're in this job market and you have to sell yourself. So this is the observation. In law school, getting experience, networking, preparing yourself for your legal career post bar is going to be filled with you having to sell yourself. And there's a spectrum of what kind of person you could be when you're engaging in this type of self-advertisement. You could be, someone akin to the used car salesman, or someone who is very shy about, tooting their own horn. They just want to put their head down and let their work speak for itself. And people find themselves somewhere between these two poles. And ultimately, you're going to have to find what works best for you, what's most effective. My advice here would be, you have to get used to talking about yourself in a comfortable and effective way. And when I mean talking about yourself, I don't mean like shallow, narcissistic, self-congratulatory discussions about just how great of a person you are and how good of a researcher and legal writer you may be. It's more of being comfortable about talking about your strengths and your weaknesses in all areas of legal practice. You have to be able to talk about in articulate fashion about your interests, your goals, your career plans. Why is it that you want to be a part of this firm? Why do you want to pursue securities law or family law? Why are you in a better position than another candidate to have this opportunity to be a part of this firm or clinic or whatever it may be? And you really have to refine this ability to speak about yourself. And for some, including myself, who are not very inclined to be talking about yourself in positive terms for reasons I laid out a little bit ago, and B, who are introverted, this type of communication is taxing, but you have to be able to take the brunt of that emotional or psychological toil that it may have on you and just strengthen that muscle. Because when you get down to it, you just can't avoid having to engage in this type of game of being able to sell yourself to these employers. So my advice: just get to work on being able to talk about yourself in articulate, interesting, and persuasive terms. Moving to the third part of the podcast, where I talk about something intellectually interesting. I've been thinking a lot about my own commitment to being a lawyer. When you're a 1L, there's this idea of imposter syndrome. Do I really belong here? And kind of attached to that idea is, how committed are you to becoming this lawyer? Are you willing to do the work, take on the stress? Say hi to Weena as she passes by. Take on the immense financial debt that you're putting yourself into to become a lawyer. Are you committed to that? And that's always a question that's haunted me. There's never been a serious doubt in my mind that this was something that I couldn't do, or didn't want to do. I genuinely thought from the beginning that this was something I wanted to do and could do. Despite all my foibles and weaknesses, if I dedicated myself and put in the work and thought clearly about some things, this is something I could and wanted to do. But always in the back of my mind were ambitions to do other things. And I knew that those ambitions would necessarily come at the cost of being, the best lawyer I could be. Highly successful people in any area of life are normally single-minded. Kamaru Usman wants nothing but to be the greatest fighter in the world in his weight division. LeBron James wants nothing more but to be the greatest basketball player who's ever lived, etc., etc. And from the beginning, I could never get myself to fake an idea that, the only thing in my mind is to be the best lawyer that I could be. I want to be an exceptional lawyer, just because one has to carry themselves in that way. I think, as a matter of course, you should want to do anything that you're engaging in to the best of your ability without having to compromise other values that you think are important. But always in my mind, even from the beginning and still to this day, when someone asks me, like, oh, what do you do? Answering, oh, I'm a lawyer, always felt that I was shortchanging what it is that I wanted to be. I have hopes and ideas and dreams of, apart from, being a very good lawyer, also someday being a teacher. In my history, there's always this tendency to want to, share knowledge. Not because I think I'm this, vat of facts and interesting knowledge. Is just I enjoy that process of sharing information. I've had so many good teachers and learned so much from so many people. I just wish that I could put that forward. there's a quote by Nietzsche that says, a student repays his teacher poorly if he remains a student. So that's kind of what I have in mind. I at one point, in some form or fashion, I want to be a teacher. So at some point, being a lawyer will have to take a backseat to that. And currently, just what I'm doing right now, this podcast comes as an opportunity cost. I could be spending the 1 hour this takes out of my week studying or reading for pleasure. But I want to engage in this because it's another ambition of mine. I want to put content out there that has meaning to me and to hopefully other people. I also want to be a writer of some substance, and I could talk about more of those ambitions, but even having 2 or 3 of those already, fudges the single-minded approach of just wanting to focus solely on being the best lawyer I could be. And am I okay with that? I certainly feel that I am. At this point, I certainly do. At some point in my law school career, I might have to face the facts and realize that in order to be successful in this line of work, you will have to sacrifice your other ambitions. And that's going to be a very interesting psychological, emotional, life-altering moment, if and when it does approach. But I'm interested to know what other law school students think. What do you guys think? Are you singularly focused on your law school career and everything that comes along with that? Going to law school alone is so life consuming that it's reasonable to dedicate yourself just to that project. And many of my classmates do just that. And they do it incredibly well, and it's admirable. But I'm interested to know how many of you guys are pursuing, to your best ability, a very good law school career, while at the same time not wanting to be pigeonholed into that box of being a lawyer. In another podcast, I think I talked about not wanting to be boxed into thinking simply as a lawyer, but being able to alternate between thinking like a lawyer, which law school trains, and being able to think, as a philosopher or as a writer or as just an everyday layman. Here, I don't feel great when I think about myself being pigeonholed into the box of lawyer. And the way I think about it sometimes is, if my obituary reads German there's the fib, Gonzalo Gonzalez dead at Gonzalo Gonzalez, Titan of the law, dies at 83, would I be happy with that, as opposed to something like Gonzalo Gonzalez, author, writer, professor, and then maybe last, lawyer, dies at 83, father, son, husband, whatever, dies at 83, would that be more happy? Would I be more proud of that? And I definitely have stronger affinity toward that latter, where I made my life something broader than a single profession. And don't get me wrong, it would be an absolute privilege to be recognized as just a very competent lawyer, and doing that solely would be just beyond my dreams. But the ambitions still exist, and I can't deny them. I would much prefer to be recognized as having dipped my toes well, which is to say done well in a variety of the things that I really enjoy, which includes a lot of different things. And they say that a jack of all trades is a master of none. When I think about it, I'm more fine with that, more and more as I grow older and I get more into my I grow more into my skin, and it's an interesting experience to have that as you're going through law school, and seeing everyone's different experience. So I've been rambling. Let me know what you guys are going through. Are you very much focused on being a lawyer as the thing, the title, the space of experience that you want to be in, or are you finding yourself wanting to be more than that, wanting to be a lot of different things? And it's a weird experience to feel this, and even feel kind of bad that you're not able to just brush aside everything and focus singularly on becoming the best lawyer you could be, that you have to partake in these other things that you find really interesting, and you're okay or you're not okay with that feeling. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and that should cover what I wanted to speak about this week. Indeed it is. So I'll catch you guys next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and have a good one.